Hi. So recently, the company Artistro sent me this 24-piece paint set. Now, I did a review on this paint set in the last video, so if you want to know about it, go check it out. But I figured, something being tested and something in practice are two completely different things, so I wanted to test these out in practice. So we're going to use these to paint something today. And I was thinking to myself, it's a little gloomy outside, so let's paint something a little brighter. So we're going to do some sort of rainbow painting today. Now, before we can paint this painting, I have to get this area set up, which is what I'm going to do now. So this is a perfect time for you to take a break, go grab a snack. If you look down below in the description, you can see the supplies that I'm going to be using today. If you need some of those and you want to follow along, go grab them. Also, if you're kind of bored while you're waiting, why don't you visit my TikTok and Instagram? Those are always a fun time, so do that. Also, while you're down there, hit the subscribe button. Why not, right? Helps me out. Gives you something to do, I suppose. But anyway, let's roll the intro. Welcome back, you beautiful artists. It's great to see you, and I'm glad you're here. Now, like I said, we're going to do a rainbow painting today. Super easy. I love them because they are so not intimidating. And that's really what makes them so special. Their barrier for entry is so low. And really, anybody can do it, including you. Now, I have already pre-primed this canvas just to save a little bit of time so you don't have to. But if you do want to know how to, I'll link a video down below of me teaching how to do that. It's a 2-part series. You can see it. They're really quick. Take a look. You might like it. But let me show you the colors that we're using today. Now, clearly we have our rainbow colors, so we're going to go from red to orange, to yellow to green, to blue to purple. We're going to do some black and white in the background. Because the one thing that I've noticed about rainbow paintings is the colors really pop when you get a black and white background with a little bit of a silhouette. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a very, very simple background of just gray and white, and then we'll silhouette the tree in the front of us so that color really pops out. So I don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's roll through this. So first what we're going to do is, now that I have this background nice and prepped with a little bit of white, we're going to start with a very simple amount of black in the background. And we'll essentially just kind of pull that this way. Now for this background, I'm going to use a very, very large brush. Now, if you are following along, don't forget to look in the description. There'll be a whole list of the supplies that we're using today. So if you wanted to pick them up, feel free. You're more than welcome to. Otherwise, you could just use whatever you have. It doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do here, we'll take just a pinch of black right on the very corner of that brush. See that? Then I'm going to attack it right at the top. That's going to be very, very dark, very aggressive back there. Let it be. We want it to be that way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pretty decent amount of this white. And I'm going to start applying it to my background. Randomly. Go for it. You can do it, let me show you here. You can kind of do it like this, where it is just a simple back and forth. Kind of like that, right? Or you could kind of mix it up, do little crisscross strokes, play around with the background. It's your background. Whatever it is you want to do to it, please, go for it. I don't care. You have fun. Don't let me dictate what looks good to you. Now with this, you are still going to need to apply a little bit of black every once in a while just to sort of bring that color through. Let's do it. Let's do it like this. We'll make ours straight across today. Maybe, we'll see. One thing I like about acrylics is as they're drying, before they dry, you can sort of cover this whole thing and then adjust it to be wherever you want it to be here, for example. Right, see how that's kind of all over the place like that? Now before it dries, I can take that, smooth it out to be in any kind of direction I want it to be, so don't take it too seriously. Really just applying paint randomly, any way we feel. This is sort of this is that entry point where you're like, I don't know if I'm ready, or I don't know if I can do this. Just kind of go for it. You don't really need to worry about it here. Look at this, ready? Here. Just go for it! I did a whole video of how I painted blindfolded. You should see that one, it's pretty cool. I'll also link that one down below, or maybe in the title card, or however that works. You'll see it. Check it out. It's a pretty awesome video. Now, as you're doing this, your background might dry out a little bit, and that's okay. You can always just apply more white, but don't apply more black. If you apply more black, you're really going to darken that up and pull out the color. It's going to dull the colors if the background's too black. So we want that nice gray, steel gray background, which is kind of what we're looking for. Now again, just go for it. Might need to apply more white paint to your palette. And that is also okay. You're going to use a lot of white for these backgrounds, but if you're not using the same size canvas as I am, it won't matter as much. Let's add a little bit of black down here. Pull that through. Again, with this one, just kind of go for it. We're just turning the background gray. We're not really doing much. It's going to drown. It's going to be drowned out later on. You won't even notice this background. And there, make sure you get to the very, very bottom. Really pressing hard here just to kind of get that paint in. You don't want it to be too dry. Let's add a little bit of depth. Maybe I'll throw, oh geez, I don't know, maybe there's some right here. Nice, even, delicious background. I don't know if you would refer to this as delicious. That's a weird way to refer to that. Don't judge me, okay? It's inappropriate. All right. Now, if you haven't already, and you're liking this video so far, don't forget to subscribe down below for more stuff. I'm going to put a little bit extra white here for myself. Grab a little bit more, just to sort of smooth out those edges here, those jagged edges. Sometimes when you're doing this, you're looking at it, you're so close, you don't realize what it looks like. Sometimes you got to step back a little bit like this. Look at it and go, use a little bit here. Sometimes you're just a little too close. I'm going to step back a little bit again. Yeah, maybe it needs just a little bit more black. Maybe there. Oh, I like that. That's nice. Maybe something here. Ah. Whatever it is, this is where we're making decisions. Where are we going to put that black? Gotta make some decisions sometimes. We're going to make some real decisions as soon as we get into that tree, so be prepared for that. Which is going to happen roughly about right now. Put that in there. Okay, so let's put our tree just smack dab right in the middle, really cover this sucker up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and grab my large flat brush here. Now I'm going to apply some black where the land is going to be, but I don't want to color it in yet. Okay, so let's say we don't want a flat land. We want the land to kind of move around a little bit because we're going to put some grass in. So when you start this, don't ever start it like this, down below here. You want to start it over here because the land will end somewhere around here. You kind of want it to be off the canvas. One thing that you should know about when you paint, if you pull stuff off the canvas, what it does is it creates life outside the canvas, essentially creating movement inside the canvas, which is exactly what you want to do. Adds a little bit of dynamic to the painting, which I like. So it doesn't have to be perfect, we just kind of need to know where it's going to live for right now. Just so we know where to put our tree. Okay, now this background is going to still be wet, but we want to put our tree in just so we know where it's going to live. We can go back and sort of fill it in a moment, but let's put it in here. We're going to just give one, we want to put the trunk in here first, and then we're going to build off of that. All right, so I'm going to lay the trunk in. Now, sometimes you'll want to go from the top to the bottom. Don't do that. We always go, when we make a tree, from the bottom to the top. There's a reason for that, all right? So the initial press of this brush to the canvas is going to be the most pressure. And most of you know this, as a tree grows, it sort of peaks at the top, right? So it kind of goes like this, right? Sort of to a point at the end. So when you do that, you want to give it a point. So let's say the tree kind of goes up, right? Maybe it sort of ends, right there. We like that. All right, now let's give this trunk a little girth. So it's a weird word, but it's the word. All right, so we'll pull it through. Kind of like that. One of the reasons I like doing the background like this, especially in a white, is it sort of gives a natural highlight to the tree. You sort of pull that through a little bit. Kind of like that. All right, so let's make some branches. Now, with branches grow from within a tree, not on a tree. So, for example, if a branch were to grow on a tree, it would just kind of go like this. We don't want that. It looks like somebody walked over, stuck it to the side of the tree. Nobody likes that. It looks weird. So, when we make a branch, we want to go from inside of the tree, pulling outward and out. All right, so kind of like this. Okay. Now with this, now that I have that, I want one more main branch. Then we're going to do some smaller branches. So maybe there's a main branch, kind of works like this. Right? We pull off as we work through. And there's one more, kind of pushes like this. Maybe this one's sort of pulled out this way. Oh. Now for the smaller branches, which we will have a pretty decent amount of, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one, which is a bright brush. This is one of my favorite brushes. You'll notice that in most of my paintings I use a bright brush, my favorite one, just because you can get some really sharp edges. All right. So what I mean by smaller branches is we have some big ones here. We'll sort of even this tree out in a moment, but you notice it does the same thing as that flat brush does, but much more precise. You will have to reapply most of the time because it'll thin itself out if you don't. Maybe that comes up like this. Let's even this out a little bit. There's not so many brush strokes in there. Yeah, there we go. Change the direction of the tree. All right. Do the sounds, it helps. Now a lot of this will be covered up by colors. So don't worry too much about this. We want to know where the colors are going to live, but we don't want to focus too much on these branches just yet. It's kind of where they're going to live, right? It kind of goes down like this. Alright. Using that paint that's already in there. Yeah, something like that. Alright, I like where that's at. Now, I'm going to fill this in. I got a lot of paint on this brush. I'll just use this one for now. Typically you wouldn't do that, especially if you're a beginner, because if you're just starting off, you're not going to know how to fill this in too quickly. But considering I do this most often, I know how to fill it in fast. Alright, pretty quick. Alright, even that out. Now don't press too hard when you're doing this. If you press hard, you're going to dry it out like that. Ugh, we don't like that. Press lightly, pull that paint through. It might seem like I'm using a lot of paint here, but I'm going to even this paint out in a moment. Add a little depth. Right. Almost done here. You can let that land, move it around a little. Don't make it so flat. Also, when you're doing this, you want to leave some of that white poke through. It adds some shadow and shade to it, sort of organically. We like that. Right? we got to make sure that we know where the light source is coming from. So light source is kind of coming from, maybe we'll pick, light source is coming from here, right? So we want to pull that through. Right, pull that out a little bit, you can even add white. That's pretty. Add a little depth to the tree. Kind of wherever you want it to live. All right. Maybe there's some white over here. Just gonna push that in, pull it through a little. It sits right on the top of the land there. All right, so let's clean this off. Here, I want to create some grass. I don't want it to just be sort of weird flat land. So I'm going to pull some grass through. Now, there are a few ways to do this grass. You can pull it through very lightly, put the tree really far away from you, kind of like this, right? Really small strokes like that, and even them out. Or you can do big strokes, kind of like weave around, kind of like that. Evening that out at the bottom there like that. It's up to you. Silhouette, that's what's beautiful about the silhouette, is that you can kind of pull these through and it won't really matter. It all depends on what kind of grass you want. I'm going to go with some big grass. Just kind of pull it through. There's a big piece right there. There is now. All right, make sure that when you're doing this, you're keeping that brush really nice and flat against the canvas, right? We want it kind of like this. If you bend it in any way, it's going to really fan out. We don't want that too much. Even that out at the bottom there. Kind of like that. Right, you can give it a little bit of depth like that if you'd like. Or you can leave it even like that. Maybe like that. Here, I want to go all the way through. And maybe some kind of comes like this. Maybe there's a little bit higher one. I can weave it too. Maybe it's a windy day. I don't know. Maybe the grass is really unkempt. Right? Nobody's been keeping it up. It kind of looks like that. Maybe. What do you think? All right, maybe it looks like that. This part's really tedious. You know, a lot of times as humans, when things get tedious, we want to rush right through them. Don't do that. Make sure you place this grass with purpose. All right. Put it where it needs to be. You know, don't just hurry through it. All right. Some are going to be bigger than others. Don't let it dry out either. Don't push too hard. Pretty low here so I can catch a little bit of that bottom part, right? Something like that, right? So again, remember, take a step back, look at it, all right, even it out where you need to. Maybe it needs to come up here a little. Maybe we want it to be full. Maybe there's some big pieces. Maybe there's some big pieces. Oh gosh, I don't know. There's another big piece. All right, so what we need to do now is we need to let this dry. This black background is going to need about 10 minutes. This is a good time to take an intermission. You won't see that because we're just going to continue on with this painting. You're not going to see this dry, but it is going to dry for a moment. I'm just going to cut that part out. But again, let it sit for about 10 minutes. Otherwise, you're going to get into some muddy areas of the paint. That's not where we want to be. But either way, let's finish this out. So now that we're going to put our leaves in here, we're going to do it very specifically. We'll kind of go red to an orange to a yellow, green, blue, purple, kind of pull it around. But the way that we're going to do it is this is where you're going to have to make some very important decisions and kind of where you want to put your leaves, because when you start getting into it and you pull these colors through, you're going to need to keep cleaning the brush. Now, the very specific brush I'm using is going to be 1-inch natural bristle brush. And the reason I'm going to do that is because this brush frays really well, and that's what we want. Now, you can use something like a flat brush, which will do really well, but the thing that's important here is if you want to get some nice leaf-looking colors really easily, you want to make sure that the bristles are natural, not synthetic. If they're synthetic, they'll look kind of like this, which has a little bit more of a bounce in it rather than a snap. We want that snap, because that snap is going to help when we're pushing it into the paint, making it nice and frayed. This won't get as frayed as this one will. Alright, so here I'm going to put that down here. But again, I am using a 1-inch natural bristle brush. It's a little bit longer for me, so I can dab it really well. Alright, so let's start with a little bit of red. And like I said, you want to pull it through, but you want to dab. You see how we're dabbing like that? When we start, maybe we'll start here, kind of dab it this way, right? Right, don't be afraid to add a bunch in. Go loose with it, see? Right, maybe it kind of cuts this way a little. Dab with the corner. Something like that. Right, you see how it's nice and it's almost gritty, right? It's adding texture. That's kind of what we want. Now, there are two schools of thought here. If you don't have all of the colors, you can simply go from red to yellow. If you only have the primaries, that's totally fine. I only put the colors out here so you can see what we're using. But if you only have the primaries, all you need for this is red, yellow, and blue. And you can make that go all the way around. You know what? I'll do it that way. I'll show you. Rather than use those colors, I'll show you this way. So we'll pull that red in a little bit. Maybe it kind of comes out this way. Right, you can do little soft ones too, kind of like that, right? I want to bunch it up a little. Now, you don't have to use just simply the frayed edge. It helps, but remember, you want some of that tree to poke out too. It's really pretty like that. Kind of goes, but they always kind of come to a point. See, something like that. Now, see, I can simply take my yellow, dab it in, right? Now I'll have some orange, right? Don't get rid of your yellow too much. Right, now I've got some orange coming through, right? See that? Now here, I'm going to put a little bit more yellow on this palette. Right, you see as I get away from the red a little, it starts to get a little bit more orange. Right? And leave space in between. Remember, like I said, the leaves grow on the branch and on the tree, but they don't just cluster like a ball. They're kind of everywhere. So play it like that, right? Cover up some of that. Right? It kind of cuts like this. And you can add some branches just by putting leaves where you want them to go. Give the impression a branch was there. Now with this brush, this has too much orange on it. I want just straight yellow now. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it here for a second, and I'm going to switch to a clean brush. You want a clean brush for this because you want your straight yellow. And I'm going to put a little bit more yellow on my palette here, just because I didn't anticipate using that, but now that I did, let's get into it. All right, so now I've got just straight yellow. And with yellow, you kind of want to slightly avoid the orange for now. Just for now. We'll balance that out later because the yellow is going to need a little bit of coaxing to get over that black, right? It's very, very transparent. You know, reds and blues, they're pretty opaque. I mean, it's hard to see through them. Yellows and oranges, they're very transparent. Especially some greens too. You get a light green. So you want to pull this through, and we're going to cover those spots up in just a minute. We want to avoid the orange still. We got some of that there like that. Now that we have that yellow in there, we'll switch back to our orange and very, very lightly tap it in just to blend. Just to blend a little. Okay, so blending It's not a perfect yellow. Let's blend slightly. Pull those two colors together. And you can take that, move it out slightly here. Grab a little bit more yellow. By the way, if you're liking these paints, they're from a company called Artistro. I did a video just recently. I'll link it down below again. Another thing I'll link down below. I've been saying that a lot here, or maybe I'll put it in the title card. Check them out. They're pretty good paints. They work really well. They're budget paints, but they do the job. All right? So you give it a nice little coat, kind of covers that up a little. All right, now here's where it gets a little fun. So with this, now we have the yellow, and we want to turn it into a light green. So we're going to pull some green right through here, right on the end, but we don't want to overwhelm our yellow. We want to leave some there, because we're going to darken that green up in a moment. Right? Pull through this way. Pull it into the yellow slightly, but don't go too much, right? We don't want to lose too much of that yellow. Take a step back, look at it. It comes out this way a little. Oh gosh, I don't know. It comes up here, real fluffy, real fun. Alright, so we still have that yellow. Pull some of it in, right? We'll pull a little bit of that orange and tap lightly, it'll pull some of that color. Right, we don't want to overwhelm it. Green, if you'd like. Kind of like that. Just add that blend. Use just the corner here. Just the corner. Pull that blend through. Alright, so it's more of a seamless transition. Seamless, it's a good word for one of these. A little rainbow tree. Seamless transitions. What am I saying it like that? Saying a lot of emphasis on the seam. Alright, so now we have that. I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to switch to another one. Now remember, you don't have to have that many of these. You can keep cleaning them off. I'm just doing this to save a little time. So I'm going to take this blue here, I'm going to dab it in. And with this blue, I kind of want to pull it around the green, but I don't want to go into my green just yet. Don't push too hard when you're dabbing this, because you're going to lose it. You're going to fluff it up a little bit too much. You'll get these deep spots if you do that. We want it to be textured. Textured. I want softer edges at the top too. Don't forget that. I don't want it to be too pointy. It's a rainbow tree, right? It's a little abstract, right? I remember the last time I saw a tree with all the rainbow colors in it. A little. Remember, give that texture. Take some of that purple, a little bit light on the purple. Really dab that in. You know, these transparent colors work really well. Sometimes you get into a color that's really dark, really opaque. Hard to pull through that, really do a lot of blending. Pull those colors through. Just comes up this way. Oh, make the sounds. It's a lot of fun. Pull it down. Give the illusion that there's some branches somewhere you didn't put them. Some fall if you want. There's some leaves falling off here. Geez, I don't know. It's your tree, man. I'm just here to show you how to do it, not to dictate what looks good. You do you. Just here to have some fun. Show you how to paint some easy, very simple, very simple rainbow tree. Let's put that to the side for a moment. I'm going to switch back now to my bright brush. Earlier we talked a little bit about highlighting. That's what we're going to do here. I'm going to add just a pinch of white. And this light's over here. Just give it a little light. Here at the end, maybe it cuts this way a little. It's easy to kind of blend that in a little. Something like that. The land a little bit. So it kind of pushes through here like this. Alright, don't worry too much about exactly blending it, because we'll show you how to do that in just a second. Right? We just want to put some light source. Right, there's something in here like that. Then you take a little bit of black as you're done, and just even it back out in places that you don't want too much of that white. Don't overwhelm it. Just want a little shine on the tree, just to give it a little bit extra depth. Now, I don't normally encourage this, but feel free, if you've got a synthetic brush, to lay it on its side like this. And just kind of blend it in a little. Pull it through, give it a little bit of depth. Never do it like this, though. Don't scrub it at the top. If you scrub it at the base, you're going to fray that synthetic brush up. Not going to be pretty at all. We're just adding a slight bit of depth. See, it has a little bit of light to the side. And with that, I think we're finished. So, that was a nice, quick, easy rainbow tree, right? Nothing to it. You can take that and sort of do with it what you will. It was just my take on, the rainbow idea. It's a little gloomy out today, so I figured let's brighten up the day a little bit. But, as always, thank you so much for deciding to spend a few minutes of your day with me. It is always much appreciated. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. Everybody knows the drill. We're here on YouTube. But, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.